For 30 years, Lillian Gray was the cornerstone of her family, the silent architect of their happiness, the fixer of their problems, the planner of their lives. When she receives the itinerary for her daughter's lavish Santorini wedding and finds herself appointed without being asked as the full-time and paid nanny for 14 children, something inside her quietly breaks. So Lillian does the unthinkable. She books a secret suite in the resort's adults-only wing, packs her most daring silk dress, and decides to attend her daughter's wedding not as the family's manager, but as a guest. As the meticulously planned event descends into chaos without its reluctant captain, a mother's quiet rebellion forces her family and herself to finally see the woman they've taken for granted. In a story about love, resentment, and the radical act of choosing yourself, the email arrived on a Tuesday morning. The subject line was a burst of unbridled joy. Sophia and Julian tilde. Final itinerary tilde. See you in Santorini. Lillian Gray let her finger hover over the trackpad of her tidy laptop, the steam from her peppermint tea curling in the quiet kitchen. Her daughter, Sophia, had a flair for the dramatic. Lillian clicked. The PDF was a masterpiece of modern wedding planning. Columns of elegant script detailed a 4-day spectacle at the Aegean Vista Elite Resort and Spa, sunset vow ceremonies, private yacht tour, a tasting menu from a Michelin-starred chef flown in from Paris. Lillian's heart did its familiar, complicated dance, a pang of awe at the scale, a flutter of pride for her formidable daughter, a deep, abiding love for the little girl who used to marry her teddy bears with ceremony in the backyard. She scrolled past the welcome gala, the sunrise meditation, the mixology class. Her eyes found the section titled Family Logistics and Key Roles. There was her son, Daniel, groomsman liaison and transport coordinator. And then, her own name. Lillian Gray, family facilitator and junior guest ambassador. The title was so corporate, so sterile. A cold dread began to pool in her stomach. She read the bullet points beneath. Sole point of contact for all guests. Age 10 and under, see attached roster. 14 children. Management and provisioning of the Little Aegeans. Child care pavilion during all major events. Coordination of alternate meal services. Activity schedules and nap time logistics. Oversight of contracted nanny staff to personnel. Liaison between staff and parents. It was a job description. A comprehensive, exhausting, full-time job description for the duration of the wedding. There was no question mark, no would you mind, no trace of the conversation she thought they'd have. It was a deployment order, embedded between the wine pairing and the seating chart. For 7 days, Lillian moved through her routine, her book club, her grocery shopping, her volunteer shift at the library with the itinerary, burning a hole in her consciousness. The family group chat was a torrent of exclamation points about villa assignments and shuttle times. Sophia texted, "Mom, you saw your section, right? You're a lifesaver. The planner said we need a dedicated point person or the kids will ruin the acoustic set. You're the best, Doxo." Lillian stared at the screen. You're a lifesaver. The ultimate courtesy of her motherhood. Her efficiency taken for granted, her consent assumed. She typed back, "The planning is extraordinary, Sophia." The parcel arrived 2 days before her flight. A large, flat box. Inside, under layers of taupe tissue paper. She found it, a tailored, linen blend vest in a soft heather gray. It was stylish, even, until she turned it over. Embroidered neatly on the back, in a subtle, thread-toned script, were the words, "Guest Relations." Tucked in the pocket was a card from her son-in-law to be, Julian. "Lillian, Soph says you're running the show for the mini gang. This should help everyone spot the boss. Can't wait to celebrate with you, Jay." The kindness in the note made it worse. They had all discussed this. They had all agreed. They had bought her a uniform. Lillian sat on her living room floor, the vest in her lap, the silence of her comfortable, empty house pressed in on her. She saw the entire weekend with devastating clarity. She would be a hummingbird, flitting from crisis to crisis, a spilled juice box on white linen, a meltdown during the mother-son dance, a lost lovey at midnight. She would hear the speeches through a baby monitor's static. She would eat lukewarm fish fingers from a compartmentalized plate while the smell of lamb chops with rosemary just drifted from the main tables. She would be infrastructure, vital, invisible. The weight of it was physical. 3 decades of being the dependable one, the organizer of birthday parties, the executor of wills, the holder of secrets, the maker of lists. After Robert died, she had become the family's sole anchor. And now, at the pinnacle of her daughter's life, they saw her not as the mother of the bride, but as the manager of inconveniences. A spark, long thought extinguished, crackled to life in her chest. It was furious. It was quiet. It was hers. "What if," whispered the spark, "you simply declined the assignment? Not the wedding, the role." She stood, walked to her oak desk with the spine suddenly straighter, and opened a new browser window. She typed, Aegean Vista, Elite Resort and Spa, Availability. She navigated past the family villas. She clicked on Signature Suites, Adults Only Zenith Wing. She selected her dates, aligning perfectly with the wedding. She filled in her details, Ms. Lillian Gray, solo traveler. At the payment screen, her breath hitched. This was an act of profound rebellion. It was selfish. It would cause a seismic rift. Her gaze fell on the heather gray vest, lying on the sofa like a surrendered flag. She took a deep breath, keyed in her card number, and pressed confirm. The confirmation email chimed a moment later. Your Aegean escape awaits, Ms. Gray. The next 24 hours passed in a surreal, purposeful haze. She packed a suitcase not for a mission, but for a holiday. She folded a cerulean blue kaftan, a one-piece swimsuit in a bold scarlet, the emerald green silk dress she'd bought on a whim months ago and never worn. She slipped in her wide-brimmed hat, her newest novel, and a journal. She did not pack the vest. She placed it, along with the box, neatly into the recycling bin. On the morning of her departure, as her phone vibrated wildly on the counter, "Mom, did you pack the children's allergy list? The planner needs it." She switched it to Do Not Disturb. At the airport, she checked a single bag. In the business class lounge, she accepted a glass of crisp Sauvignon Blanc. On the plane, as they soared over the Atlantic, she opened her novel and did not read a single word. Her mind a thrilling, terrifying blank canvas. The plane began its descent. Out the window, the island emerged from the sapphire sea, a breathtaking sculpture of white and blue. The resort clung to the Caldera cliffs, a vision of pristine luxury. Somewhere in that labyrinth of suites and villas, her family was arriving, bustling, beginning the high-stakes choreography of a perfect wedding. And Lillian Gray, for the first time since she could remember, was walking into the story as a mere guest. The question was no longer what she would do. It was when they would notice she was no longer following their script. The Zenith Wing reception was a sanctuary of hushed elegance. No cheerful chaos of arriving families, no stroller traffic jams. Just the soft chime of a bell and the murmur of staff in crisp white linen. "Welcome to your Aegean sanctuary, Ms. Gray," the concierge said, his voice like poured honey. "Your sanctuary awaits." Her suite was not a room but a landscape. Whitewashed arches framed a vista of impossible blue sky. Sea, caldera, all bleeding together at a hazy horizon. A private infinity pool shimmered on the terrace, its water meeting the sky in a seamless line. The air carried the scent of jasmine from climbing vines and the clean, sharp salt of the sea below. Lillian stood at the balcony, her hands gripping the cool railing. Somewhere in the sprawling resort below, her family would be arriving. She could almost hear it, the cacophony of overexcited children, the stressed directives. They'd be looking for her. She ordered Greek coffee and laucumades, She took a bite, the sweetness bursting on her tongue, and realized with a start that she hadn't tasted anything so thoroughly in years. Her phone, face down on the table, remained silent. She had sent one text after landing: "Arrived safely. See you soon." Deliberately vague, it had been met with a flurry of responses she'd only glimpsed before, silencing the device. Meanwhile, in Villa Azure, chaos was blooming. "Where is she?" Sophia's voice had that sharp edge that appeared when plans frayed. "The nannies are here, and they have no idea about the allergy protocols." "And where's the vest?" Daniel emerged from a bedroom, his 1-year-old, Oliver, screaming on his hip. "She's not answering her phone." Straight to voicemail. "Maybe her flight was delayed," Julian suggested. "Her flight landed 3 hours ago. I tracked it." One of the nannies, a young woman named Anya, approached. "I'm sorry, but we were told Ms. Gray would have the activity schedules and the special dietary list." Sophia pressed her fingers to her temples. "She has it all. She must be on her way." Up in the Zenith wing, Lillian had finished her coffee. She changed and went down to the adults-only pool, a terraced oasis of quietude. She chose a lounger in the sun and opened her novel. A server appeared. "Can I bring you anything, madam?" She almost said no out of habit. Then she looked at the cocktail menu. "The Santorini Sunset, please." As the drink arrived, her phone buzzed. A text. "Daniel, Mom, seriously, where are you? The kids are melting down and we can't find Ozzy. Call me." She looked at the message. Her entire body tensed with the instinct to solve, to fix, to go. Her hand twitched toward the phone. Then she looked at the sea, at the way the light danced on the water like scattered diamonds. She looked at her drink, condensation beating on the glass. She took a long, slow sip. She placed the phone back in her bag, screen down. She picked up her novel. And for the first time in 30 years, Lillian Gray chose not to answer the call. Lillian woke naturally to the sound of distant church bells and lapping waves. The tight knot of anxiety that usually sat between her shoulder blades was looser. She took her coffee on the terrace, watching fishing boats carve white lines through the blue. She swam laps in the pool, the rhythm meditative. After, she settled with her book. She realized she hadn't thought about the children's nap schedule once. Around noon, hunger pulled her to the poolside restaurant. She requested a table for one overlooking the sea. She ordered the grilled octopus. As she waited, she watched an older man at a nearby table sketching the view. He had silver hair and quiet concentration. Her food arrived. She took a bite and closed her eyes. "This," she thought. "This is what I paid for." As she ate, the man approached. "I'm so sorry to disturb you," he said, his accent British. "But you've just sat in the most perfect composition. Would you be terribly offended if I included you as a silhouette?" Lillian blinked. I suppose not. Thank you." He returned to his table. When she finished, he approached again, holding the sketchbook, a token of thanks. It was beautiful, the landscape in soft watercolor washes, but the her figure captivated her. She was just a shape in a hat, looking out to sea. "It's lovely," she said. "You're very talented." "Leo," he said, extending a hand. "A retired doodler." "Lillian," she said, shaking his hand. "And I'm doing much the same." "A writer," he guessed. The lie was there, ready, but something about his direct gaze stopped her. "No," she said. "Just a woman on holiday." Finally, his eyes crinkled. "The best kind of person to be. May I join you for a coffee?" She hesitated for only a second. "Please do." Their conversation was effortless. He spoke of architecture, of light on stone, of traveling after his wife died. He didn't ask about her family. They existed in a perfect, present-tense bubble. Meanwhile, at the cliffside wedding venue, the rehearsal was unraveling. The flower girl was sobbing that the petals were too slippy. The ring bearer was in a standoff. "Where's Grandma Lillian?" The ring bearer whined. "She said she'd show me how." Sophia looked like a general whose troops had mutinied. Has anyone heard from my mother? Julian checked his phone. Nothing. I called the resort front desk. They confirmed she checked in yesterday. To where? What room? They wouldn't say. Privacy policy. A new, cold panic touched Sophia's heart. Daniel pulled out his phone and typed, "Mom, where are you? We're getting worried. Please call." On the Zenith terrace, Lillian's phone buzzed in her bag. She and Leo were laughing over a story. The buzz was distant, unimportant. She didn't check it. Later, Leo excused himself. "Thank you for the company, Lillian." She picked up her phone then. Saw Daniel's text. Saw the missed calls. The old guilt rose. She finished her wine. She looked at the sketch, at the serene silhouette. She placed the phone back in her bag. She did not reply. The rehearsal dinner was a clifftop barbecue. Lillian dressed in the emerald silk dress. She applied red lipstick another first. The resort's flagship restaurant was booked for the wedding party's dinner, but Lillian had a table on the upper terrace, which offered a direct sight line to the long table below. She ordered champagne. For courage, she thought. They arrived in a noisy wave. Sophia in white, Julian beaming. Daniel, looking harried. The nanny, Anya, hovering. From her perch, Lillian watched the silent movie. She saw Daniel wipe something off Chloe's face. She saw Eva jiggle Oliver while trying to eat. She saw Sophia smile falter whenever she looked at her phone, searching. For me, Lillian thought. A toast was made. Lillian watched her daughter raise her glass, the smile not reaching her eyes. She saw the planner having a tense conversation with Anya. It was all happening exactly as she had predicted. The guilt returned, mingled with anger. May I join you? Or is the voyeurism a solo activity? Leo stood beside her table. He followed her gaze downward. It's not voyeurism, she said quietly. It's my family. Ah, he sat. And you're up here, dressed like a queen in exile. May I ask why? She took a sip. They gave me a job for the weekend. Running the children's program. 14 children. I resigned. Leo's eyebrows rose. Resigned. From family. A bold move. I didn't resign from the family. I resigned from the position. She looked down. Sophia was pacing, phone to ear. Lillian's own phone lit up. I've spent my life being the person who makes things run smoothly. I thought for my daughter's wedding, I might just be her mother. And how does it feel? Like I'm drowning and flying at the same time. He nodded. I refused to give the eulogy at my wife's funeral. Sometimes, the most rebellious act is to simply be what you are, not what you're expected to do. Tears pricked Lillian's eyes. Below, Anya was now crying. She shook her head, took off her radio earpiece, placed it on the table, and walked away. Oh dear, Leo murmured. The unmanageable expectations have claimed a casualty, Lillian said. Will you go down? Every fiber screamed yes. She looked at Leo. She looked at her champagne. She looked at her own hands. No, she said. I will not. She stayed, watching as the fractured party tried to maintain a facade. When they began to leave, Lillian paid her bill. Thank you for the company, Leo. Thank you for the story, he said. Will you be all right? I have no idea, she said honestly. But for tonight, I'm going to sit on my terrace and listen to the sea. As she walked back, she felt a profound loneliness, but within it was a sliver of something solid, herself. The wedding day dawned, with a sky so clear it hurt. Lillian woke with a weight on her chest. She went to the spa. In the steam room, voices entered. ... A total disaster. The nanny quit, and the grandma just vanished. Selfish, if you ask me. Who does that to their own daughter? The steam clouded Lillian's vision. Selfish. The word echoed. She dressed and returned to the Zenith pool. She claimed a lounger, opened her novel. She was waiting now. It came an hour later. Footsteps, fast and angry. A figure blocking her son. Lillian lowered her book. Sophia stood there, her hair in curlers, her face pale. She stared at her mother reclining, relaxed. "Mom." The word was a nuclear detonation. Lillian slowly sat up. "Sophia, you look busy." "Busy?" Sophia's voice cracked. "I have been trying to find you for 2 days. The children are running wild, the nanny quit, and you're here, at the adults-only pool. Where did you think I was?" Lillian asked, her voice calm. "In your room. Sick, lost, and OT vacationing." Sophia's hands clenched. "Why aren't you answering your phone?" Lillian took a slow breath. "I'm here as your mother, Sophia, not as your employee." Sophia recoiled. "Employee? We asked for your help." "You didn't ask," Lillian corrected. "You assigned. You sent a vest, a uniform. When did you say, 'Mom, would you like to be in charge of 14 children? Or would you like to be my mother of the bride?'" Sophia flushed. "We needed you. You've always handled everything. And I'm tired." The words burst from Lillian. "I am so tired, Sophia. I have handled everything since your father died. For your wedding, I wanted to watch you get married. I wanted to hear your vows. I wanted to dance, not from behind a baby gate." Tears streamed down Sophia's face. "So you sabotaged my wedding. To make a point." "I didn't sabotage anything. I simply didn't accept a job I didn't apply for. The chaos is the consequence of planning an event with 14 children and not hiring adequate staff. It's not my absence." Sophia opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Lillian reached for her bag. She pulled out a delicate, pearl-encrusted hair comb. "I found this by the spa. I thought it might be yours." Sophia stared at the hairpiece, then at her mother's face. The gesture, so mundane, so motherly, was disorienting. She took the comb. "I have to go," Sophia whispered. "My hair appointment." "Sophia," Lillian said, "I love you. I am so happy for you. And I will be in the back, watching you marry Julian today. As your mother, not your staff." Sophia didn't reply. She walked away, shoulders hunched. Lillian sank back. Her heart pounded. She felt shredded. But she also felt, for the first time, seen. She ordered another drink. This one, she definitely needed. Back in her suite, Lillian shook. She poured water with unsteady hands. The accusations echoed. Selfish. Sabotage. She closed her eyes, and the past washed over her. The smell of hospital antiseptic and Robert's cologne. The feel of Sophia's 5-year-old hand, sticky with popsicle. The sound of Daniel's teenage voice, "Just ask Mom." The sight of legal documents after the will was read. The endless lists on the fridge. Life, reduced to bullet points only she could manage. She had been the family's anchor. But who anchors the anchor? The answer had been no one. A soft knock at the door. She opened it to Daniel. He looked exhausted, confused. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He walked in, whistling at the view. "Wow, this is different." "It is." He turned to her. "Mom, what's going on?" "Sophia's a mess. The kids are a nightmare. We don't understand." The simple confusion was harder than anger. "What don't you understand?" "This," he gestured. "You just checking in somewhere else. Not telling us. Not helping. We're drowning." "Did it ever occur to you," Lillian said, trembling, "that I've been drowning for years?" Daniel stared. "What do you mean?" "I mean, after your father died, I held everything together. For you, for Sophia, for the grandchildren. I have been the go-to for every crisis. And for this wedding, you all just assumed I would take on the biggest job. Without asking. You bought me a uniform, Daniel." He looked ashamed. "The vest. That was Julian's idea. He thought it was funny. It wasn't. It was a label. Guest relations. I'm not staff. I'm your mother." She wrapped her arms around herself. "You all count on me." "Who do I count on? Who fixes things for me?" The question hung in the air. Daniel had no answer. "What if I'm broken too, Daniel?" She whispered. "Who fixes me?" He crossed the room and pulled her into a hug. It was awkward at first. But as she cried, his grip tightened. "I'm sorry, Mom," he murmured. "I'm so sorry we didn't see." They stood like that for a long time. It wasn't a solution. But for the first time, Daniel saw his mother not as a pillar, but as a person. And Lillian allowed herself to be seen. It was a start. 2 hours until the ceremony. Lillian dressed slowly. The emerald silk felt like a declaration. A knock, softer than Daniel's. It was Sophia. Her hair was in a chignon, held by the pearl comb. Her eyes were puffy but clear. They stood facing each other. Sophia spoke first. "The clasp on my necklace," she said, holding out a diamond pendant. "It's tricky. Will you help me?" It wasn't an apology. It was a request. A small, intimate, daughterly request. Wordlessly, Lillian stepped forward. Sophia turned. Lillian's fingers worked the clasp. It clicked shut. "Thank you," Sophia whispered. Lillian's hands rested on her daughter's shoulders. They looked into the mirror. Sophia, the bride. Lillian, the mother. "You look beautiful," Lillian said. Sophia's eyes met hers in the reflection. "So do you." She paused. "I've never seen you in that color." "It's you." "I'll be there," Lillian said. "In the back, watching you." Sophia nodded. She left, but the air was lighter. The ceremony was on the lowest clifftop terrace, a stone archway framing the sea. Lillian slipped into the last row. She saw the lingering chaos, but the center all was clear. The music swelled, and there was Sophia, a vision in lace. Lillian watched. She truly watched. She didn't look for crying children. She watched her daughter walk toward her future. She heard their vows. A line struck her. "I promise to be your harbor, and to always remember that you need a harbor, too." Tears streamed down her face. She was present. For the first time in decades, she was not working. She was witnessing. As they kissed, a hand touched her shoulder. Daniel, smiling, his eyes glistening. He squeezed her shoulder, then returned to his seat. In that touch, Lillian felt something shift. A recognition. She was part of this. Not as the director, but as a member of the audience. For now, that was enough. The reception was a fairy tale under stars. Lillian found her place card at a table with distant cousins. She was, officially, a guest. She sipped wine, ate scallops and lamb, and laughed. She danced to a Greek folk song. Her body felt loose. Then it was time for toasts. Daniel stood. His speech was warm and witty. At the end, he paused. "There's one more person here who makes everything possible." He scanned the crowd. "My mom is here somewhere." "Mom?" A spotlight swept before finding Lillian. She froze. Daniel smiled. "There you are. I just wanted to say, we see you. And thank you." It was brief, but it was public. It was seeing. She gave a small wave. Then the band leader announced, "And now the mother of the bride." Panic shot through her. She hadn't prepared anything. All eyes were on her. She stood on legs of water and walked to the podium. She grasped the edges. Her mind was blank. Then she looked at Sophia. "I didn't prepare a speech," she began. "I thought my job today was just to show up and cry." Gentle laughter. "But standing here, looking at my daughter, the words are there." She took a breath. "Sophia, you were never quiet. You came into the world with a cry that could shatter glass. You were fierce. Your father said you had the soul of a general and the heart of a poet. Seeing the woman you've become, I think he was right." She glanced at Julian. "Julian, you appreciate both. For that, I thank you." Her gaze swept the room. "People talk about marriage as a journey, but I think it's choosing to build a sanctuary. A harbor, as you said." She paused. Eyes finding Sophia's. "My wish for you is that your marriage is that sanctuary. Not a schedule to be maintained. Not a list of duties. But a place where you can be your whole, true selves. Where you can, sometimes, just be guests in each other's lives, appreciating the view." She raised her glass. "To Sophia and Julian. May your marriage be a sanctuary, not a schedule." The applause was warm, sustained. As she returned to her seat, faces smiled at her, real smiles, not the polite ones reserved for the help. Later, as the band played a slow song, Sophia approached. She didn't speak. She just took Lillian's hand and led her to the dance floor. They swayed, mother and daughter, for the first time in years without an agenda between them. "Thank you for the toast," Sophia said quietly into her mother's shoulder. "And ... for finding the comb. It was a beautiful wedding, Sophia," Lillian said. "You created something amazing." "I didn't do it alone," Sophia said. Then, after a beat, "I'm sorry about the vest." Lillian held her closer. "It's all right." For that moment, on a dance floor under the Greek stars, it was the final day. A farewell brunch at the family villa. Lillian arrived with a bottle of champagne and a box of pastries from the resort's famed bakery. The vibe was different. Still chaotic. Oliver was smashing avocado into his hairbut. The tension had been replaced by a collective, exhausted contentment. The wedding had happened. It had been beautiful, despite the chaos. Or perhaps with a newfound family memory because of it. Grandma, Chloe launched herself at Lillian's legs. "We had cake for breakfast. Did you?" Lillian laughed, bending down. "A wise choice." Daniel was manning the Nespresso machine like a battlefield medic. Eva was trying to wipe Oliver down. Sophia and Julian were packing, their new rings glinting. Lillian handed the pastries to Eva. "I come bearing gifts. No fish fingers in sight." Eva smiled, a real, relieved smile. "Thank God. I think I've reached my chicken nugget quota for the decade." Lillian poured juice for the kids but didn't jump to clean the inevitable spill. She let Daniel navigate it. She sat at the table and talked to Julian about his work, about his family's farm in Tuscany. She was a grandmother, a mother-in-law, a person. Leo had left a note at the Zenith front desk for her. "Lillian, the story continues. I've taken the liberty of emailing you my sketch. Until the next chapter. Leo." She had emailed back a simple thank you with her personal address. A thread to a possible future, loose and light. On the flight home, Sophia, in sweatpants and a hoodie, slid into the seat next to her for a while. They didn't talk much. Sophia scrolled through wedding photos on her phone, showing Lillian a few: the kiss, the dance, a candid of Daniel laughing with a cousin. Normal photos, not staged perfection. Then Sophia leaned her head on Lillian's shoulder and fell asleep. Lillian sat very still, savoring the wait, the trust. It was different now. It was chosen. Life returned, but the axis had tilted. Lillian enrolled in a pottery class on Wednesday evenings. Her first attempts were lopsided, messy. She loved them. She went to the cinema on a Tuesday afternoon just because she wanted to. She didn't tell anyone. She ate popcorn for lunch. When Daniel called and asked, "Mom, can you take the kids this weekend? Eva and I are desperate for a date night," she didn't immediately say yes. "I have plans on Saturday," she said. Which was true. She was having coffee with a woman from her book club. "But I'd love to have them Sunday afternoon. Will that work?" A pause on the line. Then, yeah, that works. "Thanks, Mom." Boundaries, spoken gently, became a new language. She met Leo for lunch when he was in the city for a lecture. It was easy, intellectual. He asked about her pottery. She asked about his new project. They were friends. It was enough. She started writing in her journal. Not lists, but thoughts. "Today I remembered the way Robert used to whistle when he cooked. I haven't thought of that in years. The clay felt cool and promising in my hands. I said no to a volunteer request at the library. The sky did not fall." A month later, Lillian hosted Sunday dinner. The kitchen was a mess of her own making, flour from scratch made. Pasta dusted the counters. A pot of bolognese simmered, a lemon tart cooled. The family arrived in their usual whirlwind. Chloe carried a lopsided, glitter-glued centerpiece. Daniel brought wine. Sophia brought a store-bought tiramisu. "My cooking energy is spent for the next year," she declared. Lillian didn't orchestrate. She let Daniel and Julian set the table forks on the wrong side. She let Eva help the kids wash up water everywhere. She let Sophia open the wine a minor spill. They sat. The pasta was a little overcooked. The garlic bread was slightly burnt. The noise was deafening, wonderful. Lillian sat at the head of the table. She didn't jump up for more water, for a napkin, for the pepper. She listened to Daniel's work story. She asked Julian about the farm. She laughed at Chloe's joke. She was in the center of the storm, yet finally, peacefully, at its eye. After dessert, as they cleared together a clattering, cooperative mess, Sophia stood beside her at the sink. "Mom," she said, scraping plates. "Julian and we're thinking of coming here for Thanksgiving this year, instead of going to his parents', if that's okay." Lillian felt a surge of the old instinct to plan the menu, to coordinate schedules, to manage. "Of course it's okay," she said. "It would be lovely." Sophia nodded, scrubbing a plate. "Maybe we could all cook together. You, me, Eva." "Not you doing it all." Lillian's hands stilled in the soapy water. She looked at her daughter. "That," she said softly, "sounds perfect." Later that night, the house quiet again, Lillian stood at her kitchen window. A cardinal, a flash of red in the twilight, visited the feeder. Robert had loved cardinals. Her journal was open on the table. She picked up her pen. The last entry read, "For so long, I waited for an invitation to my own life. I thought it had to be granted, that my seat at the table was earned through service alone. I was wrong. The table was always set. The buffet of my own life was always there, laden with choices. I refused to see the bold silk dress, the quiet afternoon, the novel for pleasure, the no that was not a betrayal. I was just so busy serving others, I forgot I was allowed to eat. I forgot I was a guest, too, no more. The feast, it turns out, is just beginning, and I have finally taken a plate." She closed the journal. From the living room, the opening notes of an old jazz record, Art Pepper's Winter Moon, spilled into the quiet. Robert's favorite. She'd put it on earlier and forgotten to turn it off. She didn't go to turn it down. She didn't think of the chores left undone or the list for tomorrow. She simply stood in her clean, messy kitchen, in her comfortable clothes, and listened. The saxophone was mournful and sweet. A slow smile touched her lips. She began to sway, just a little, to the music only she could hear. Outside, the cardinal took flight, a streak of vibrant color against the darkening blue. Heading home. So was she.